2 Ezra 13:40. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanassar the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so they came into another land. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind had dwelt, that they might keep their own statutes, which they never kept in their own land. And they entered into the Euphrates by the narrow places of the river, for the Most High that showed signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over. For through the country there was a great way to go, namely a year and a half. And the same region is called Asareth. There's evidence in Jewish encyclopedias that Asareth is America. Call halal Yahweh Bashem Awashai Bashem Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elders, the elder bishops out of Connecticut. Salutations to all my fellow laborers that do this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners, and to the Aquath that are listening and learning, to you, I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago. And I'm profiling a video from the brother Kudimero Ahu. The brother's always saying Hawa because he's of the Northern Kingdom. He knows that he's an Israelite, and he knows that the Native Americans were Israelites and that they called on the name of Yahweh. All right, so also before I start his video, this is a video. It's a 26-minute video, and I actually made sure that the name of it was in the frame. Part 1, the American Indian True Descriptions, never before seen photographs and images. So I'm going to play about 5 or 6 minutes of it. But before I do so, I also want to let you know that the Smithsonian Institute, or the Smithsonian Museum, in 1783, they took all the relics that predated Christopher Columbus and stuck them away, and said that they couldn't any relics that predated Columbus that gave information about the natives of the land, they were not allowed to be put on display, because it ruined the narrative of who the Israelites were, being that you had Jewish people claiming to be the people of the Lord. And also they couldn't have the modern day Christian knowing that these people were indeed the Lord's people, as they were murdering, purging them and removing them from their own lands by violence. So that caused a problem. So without any further ado, the brother Kudimero.
I'm in the book here from the Smithsonian Institution Bureau of American Ethnology, Bulletin 73. It says The Early History of the Creek Indians and Their Neighbors by John R. Swanson. All right. And it says here on page 43, it says the Spaniards have visited several regions of that vast country, and they're like, I believe, in the area of South Carolina, North Carolina, where they first arrived in the 1500s. You caught my past videos. They're called Arambi, Guaycaya, Cuajate, Tansaca, and Pajor. Do you know the name? Do you ever heard of these names, these tribes? The color of the inhabitants is what? Dark brown. The color of the inhabitants is dark brown. None of them have any system of writing, but they preserve traditions of great antiquity in rhymes and chants.
Now I just had that part about them writing that they had no written language. That was a lie. All right, there's Hebrew relics and Hebrew language found all over the Americas, from Brazil to Canada, from Puerto Rico to Canada. They just found a year, I think it was a year ago, some relics that they were saying were about 5,000 years old. I mean, quite a few thousand years old that they dug up in Puerto Rico. All right, so that is not true. That is a lie.
So we got inhabitants who are dark brown, who be rhyming and chanting. Rhyming, right? Rhyming, freestyling, chanting, rhymes, dark brown, put it together. Dancing and physical exercises are held in honor, and they are passionately fond of ball games. They're very fond of ball games. Who does this sound like? Let's go again. Inhabitants are dark brown, right? They pass their time in rhymes and chants, and they're very fond of ball games, in which they exhibit the greatest skill. They're very good at it too. Alright, they're very good at it. They're fond of ball games and they're very good at it. They're dark brown. Their complexion is dark brown and they be rhyming. Who they talking about? So-called Negro? All right, so we got this book. It says here, a voyage of discovery into the South Sea and Bering Straits for the purpose of exploring a northeast passage undertaken in the years 1815, 1818, at the expense of His Highness the Chancellor of the Empire, Count Romanov, and the ship Rurik, under the command of the lieutenant in the Russian Imperial Navy, Otto von Kotzebue. All right, this is volume 1, 1821. And it says here, the coast of California is inhabited by so many tribes, that there are frequently in the mission Indians of more than 10 different races, each which has its own language. All right. As we were leaving the mission, we were surprised by two groups of Indians, which were also composed of different nations. They were different. They came in military array, that is, quite naked, and painted with gay colors. The head of the most were adorned with feathers and other finery. Some of them, however, had their long, disordered hair covered with down, and their faces daubed in the most frightful manner. There is nothing remarkable in their war dance, and I only regretted that I did not understand the words of their song. The physiognomy of these Indians is ugly, stupid, and savage. Otherwise, they are well formed, tolerably tall, and of a dark brown complexion. Dark brown, dark brown complexion. The women are short and very ugly. They have much of the Negro in their countenance. Again, they have much of the Negro. They have much of the Negro, so-called Negro. You see what I'm reading to you? You see what is written in this book in 1821? They're talking about the Indians of California. They're telling you this is different people. There's different tribes here. There's different people here. There's light-skinned tribes and there's people with dark brown complexion. And the women of these men are much of the Negro in their countenance, have much of the Negro in their countenance.
On my heart.
It would put a commercial in. God damn it. So I guess there's no way
That you can
around
build
it.
your family tree and make amazing
gotta suffer through that. Let's just shut her up. Skip her. Back on it. Actually, I'm gonna stop it right there. I'm going to read from Lost Tribes and Promised Lands. All right, page 364. You know, I bought this book about 12 years ago for like $30. This book goes for $10,000 brand new hard copy now. So there's a lot of condemning and damaging information in here proving that the natives of the Americas are indeed so-called natives. And matter of fact, looking at this guy here to the right, man, this looks like he could be my grandmother's brother, man, my father's mother. Wish I had there's a photo in the next room. I will put it up next to it so you can see it for yourself. But but nevertheless, this is page 364. It said, "Blessed be the name of the Lord, who has not made me an idolater, a barbarian, a Negro, an Indian." When suddenly he stopped, those Indians, he told himself, they are Hebrews. Pondering this thought incredulously, and yet with growing conviction, he resolved that if he were ever released, he would seek out the Indian Francisco and try to learn the truth. Montezimo's story, unclear as the circumstances of his incarceration, is equally as unclear to those of his release, but released he was, and he immediately went to Francisco, revealing himself as a Jew. Montezimos proclaimed his conviction that Francisco's hidden people were the same race as he. Would Francisco lead him to them? The two men were soon back in a rugged mountain in which Francisco had made his initial revelation, marching relentlessly for a week before it finally came to a halt. It was a Saturday. Montezimos makes a point of telling us that they came unto a river larger than the Douro, and there were echoes of the Sambatyan in all of this. Here, Francisco's announced is where your brothers will be seen. Waving a banner in the air, the Indian guide soon was greeted by a puff of smoke far beyond the other bank of the river. In response to his signal, the two men waited. Eventually, a canoe appeared bearing 3 men and a woman, all of them Indian, to the place where Francisco and Montezimos were standing at the water's edge. The woman got off and spoke to Francisco in an Indian tongue Montezimos could not understand, although he could perceive that he was being identified in the conversation. She turned to her male companions to explain the situation. Upon hearing her words, they rose up, went over to Montezimos. To his utter astonishment, it said, Shemay Yisrael Adonai Elohinu Ahad Ihad, which is an incorrect Yiddish perversion of Shemai Yasharala Alahaya Yahweh Alahaya Nawa Yahweh Akkad. That's what they actually said. They didn't use the E's and the O's and the V's and the U's. There is no E, there is no U, there is no O, and there is no V in Hebrew. All right? There are only 22 characters, and though all those are of the Latin persuasion, put into the language by Eliezer ben Yehudi in the 1800s. Continuing on. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our power, and the Lord is one. And they had recited in Hebrew the fundamental credo of, they got Judaism here, but no, of Israel. Because the northern kingdom was not Jews. They were Ephraim, Manasseh, Gad, Reuben, Zebulun, Issachar. They were not referred to as Jews. The only people that were referred to as Jews was Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. All right, so that's incorrect as well. A brief conversation then ensued in their common ancestral tongue. According to Montezimos, those fluency, and it's almost perplexing to the reader of his narrative as that the 3 mysterious new companions, they told him that they were themselves of the tribe of Reuben. They were of my tribe. I am a Reubenite. And that the tribe of Joseph lived on the island nearby. That would be the so-called Puerto Ricans. All right. And the day when they were at last to issue forth in the world of coming soon, they explained, but in the meantime, they could not allow visitors to cross over to them. They were willing to make an exception in the near future. However, the account of their need for education, for for they spoke Hebrew, they could not read or write it, which I don't believe that at all. Would Montezuma send them 12 bearded men to be their teachers? He said he would. The four strangers returned to their canoe, paddled back across the river, and disappeared from view. Francisco told Montezuma all he knew about these people from his own traditions. His ancestors, to their eternal shame, had indeed made war on them and persecuted them. Only sorcerers of his tribe had perceived that they were a special people. What he meant was the shamans. And had given warning that they should be left alone. The God of the children of Israel is the true God, they had said, and every inscribed on their tablets is true. They just said they had no language, but they got things inscribed on tablets, you see. At the end of days, they will be lords of all the nations of the earth. And that is what we teach, because that's what the Bible says, and that is what's going to happen. Call halal Yahweh Bashim Abashai, Bashim Wakakwadash, Wa Ababa Bal, Kwam Yasharala, Shalom.